All right, we are here back on Survive and Thrive, and I'm going to be talking about a company that I've covered in previous videos. That company is in a disruptor industry with psychedelic and psilocybin medicine. That company is MindMed, ticker symbol MNMD. In this PR Newswire Cision article, MindMed announces publication of study comparing the acute effects of lysergic acid diethylamide and psilocybin in healthy subjects. The data, published in Neuropsychopharmacology and titled Direct Comparisons of the Acute Effects of Lysergic Acid Diethylamide in a Double-Blind Placebo-Controlled Study in Healthy Subjects. Quite the mouthful, but basically demonstrates that the key difference between LSD and psilocybin are dose-dependent rather than substance-dependent. These findings have the potential to assist with dose finding, trial design, and inform future studies evaluating the therapeutic utility of psychedelics. Now, I won't read everything that's in this article, but I'll hit the highlights. The results in this publication continue to expand our knowledge of the difference between LSD and psilocybin with regards to their acute effects, similarities, and dose equivalents, said Professor Matthias Lichte, MD, University Hospital Basel, principal investigator of the study. Although both substances are used as pharmacological tools, there are no modern studies investigating and directly comparing the acute effects of these substances within the same clinical study. And so it is very cool to see that there is some breakthrough things happening. Without getting into all of the nuances and real technical details of how this works, we do know that MindMed continues to find these trials and have a lot of different potential use cases for psilocybin that I think will have success in the future. And so this is one that you have to look at as a disruptor industry that may not happen for 5 to 10 years. They're just starting into these trial clinics, and so it's going to take time for them to actually get approvals and really do enough studies to show that there is enough of a base to actually move forward with using this product as a way to cure anxiety, stress, depression, and other neurological traumas. So yet another article in this PR Newswire talks about MindMed converting multiple voting shares to subordinate voting shares. And for any of you who have been following the company, you do understand that they are NASDAQ uplisted. So that is good for investors to hear because it makes them more legitimate from an investing standpoint. And February 23rd, they announced that all the companies issued and outstanding multiple voting shares will undergo a mandatory conversion into subordinate voting shares. The company's transfer agent will provide requisite notice to each holder of multiple voting shares on the effective date, which is March 14th. The multiple voting shares will automatically, without any action on the part of the MVS holders, be converted into subordinate voting shares on the basis of 1 share for 100 voting shares in the subordinate class. And in the case of fractions of multiple voting shares, such number of subordinate voting shares is determined by multiplying the fraction by 100. So you can see that there's a consolidation happening, and that should create some confidence in investors to see that they're actually helping to streamline the investing process. This conversion reflects an important step that solidifies our transformation into a primarily US-based company and an opportunity to simplify our capitalization structure for the benefit of existing and new shareholders, said Robert Barrow, Chief Executive Officer and Director of MindMed. We are rapidly maturing and look forward to providing additional updates on our progress as we continue to drive our business and the psychedelic industry forward. And so they will continue to be successful in performing and doing things that I think will be good for investors for the long term. We always have to keep in mind that there is a multi-billion-dollar industry, total addressable market for MindMed if they can be one of the leaders, which I think they will. And that's why I continue to buy in, especially at these dips, with it being so volatile, because I think in the long future, there's going to be a substantial amount of money to be made. You can also go and look and find that there's research done by Kevin O'Leary, and he thinks that the total addressable market for psychedelic and psilocybin developments is even bigger than cannabis. And so that just goes to show you that there is some real power and opportunity for you. As always, do your own due diligence, do the research that you need to do, but I think that MindMed is one that you want to take a deeper dive on. In investor place, FDA greenlight sets the stage for upside with MindMed. As psychedelic medicine gains legitimacy, MNMD stock is a healthcare pick to watch. Before you consider buying MNMD stock, you'll definitely want to know what you're getting into. After all, not everyone will be on board with psychedelic medicine. The idea of dosing people with LSD or mushrooms is controversial, and there are legal barriers which still need to be overcome in the US. However, those barriers might come down in the 2020s. For instance, Oregon actually legalized the use of psylocibin, psychedelic mushrooms, in a therapeutic supervised setting. This and other key events could clear the runway for the national decriminalization of psychedelic medicine. Mind medicine is on the forefront of this movement, and there may be a ground floor investment opportunity here. Moreover, a recent regulatory win for mind medicine should provide grist for the mill as the psychedelic medicine decriminalization movement finally finds its footing. A closer look at MNMD stock. Do you happen to have $1 and change in your account? If so, then you can invest in Mind Medicine, as the share price was barely above $1 in early February. You have to deal with a fair measure of volatility, however. Amazingly, the 52-week range of MNMD stock is as low as 79 cents and as high as $5.77. So it's quite the roller coaster of an investment, but you have to look at the long term. And so, like I said, anytime if you do have a holdings in this particular company or industry, look for those dips and think of the long term. Continue to buy and hold until they get to a place where this is actually a mainstream way of dealing with some of those neurological traumas. Wall Street seems to have difficulty deciding whether it likes MNMD stock or not. Therefore, it's not recommended to take a large position in the stock, as it's prone to bouts of volatility. But if you're a long-term investor and want to be very aggressive, then this is one that I would pile into, even if you can get 500 to 1,000 shares and write it out over the next 5 to 10 years. An exciting milestone. In the healthcare field, patent protection is absolutely essential. Thankfully, MindMed has a robust and extensive patent portfolio, including at least 10 patent applications covering LSD and at least 3 covering 18-MC. What's 18-MC? It's a non-hallucinogenic, ibogaine-derived proposed treatment for opioid use disorder. This just goes to show that Mind Medicine is committed to combating illicit drug use, not supporting it like the skeptics might assume. In a recent press release, MindMed revealed that it had successfully completed its phase 1 clinical trial for 18-MC, and this was something I covered in my previous video almost 2 months ago, and I can put a suggestion link here so you can check that out. The results haven't been announced yet, but the completion of phase 1 should allow Mind Medicine to move on to phase 2A study of 18-MC in individuals undergoing opioid withdrawal. This is an exciting milestone, and we look forward to announcing the results of our phase 1 study in the coming months, Mind Medicine CEO Robert Barrow stated in the press release. Now, building on the momentum, another crucial objective of MindMed is to help people who suffer from anxiety. The company clearly believes that psychedelic medicine could offer treatments where traditional approaches have fallen short. And I get really excited about that because I know that, especially with the lockdown that has happened over the last 2+ years, there's been a lot of people who have been impacted, who had issues with stress and anxiety that have been only compounded due to this black swan event. And so I think that they're getting ahead of this, and there's a huge market out there that if they can get this to become something that the FDA will approve and can be utilized here in the United States and globally, it will really show you just how powerful this disruptor industry can be. The bottom line on MNMD stock, while these developments in the field of alternative medicine are exciting, MNMD stock isn't appropriate for every investor. The stock is volatile, and there's no guarantee that regulators will continue to approve Mind Medicine's clinical trials. Nevertheless, a small stake in MindMed should be fine for risk-tolerant traders. Each small step towards decriminalization and towards healing outcomes for patients is really a victory for everyone involved, investors included. And that's really where I have my mind set and my strong conviction for this company. And so I am continuing to add to my position until I can get to a spot where I think I can make some real wealth in the years to come. Finishing out, so if we look back over the last few months, and we can see that even in the past six months, they've come down 62%. I think the last video I covered, they were down 35%, and that was just a few months ago, back in late December, early January. And you can see their current per share price is $1.04. So it's one that you can pile on in a lot of shares, and know that the range at its all-time high was almost $6 per share. So you can still make a significant amount of money. And depending on what happens with positive catalysts, with the way they develop, there is a chance that you can sell out within the year and still be up with a 4 or 5x gain. So if anybody has thoughts about MindMed, please leave those below. Let's continue to build this group of investors and help each other out with opportunities, especially in this volatile year of 2022. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, help me to get to that next milestone. I'm just almost at 150 subscribers and would love to get to 1,000 in 2022. Until next time, make it a great week, and don't just survive, thrive!